Okay, so now we're going to talk about the table saw. This is a very versatile machine and you can do a lot of stuff on it, but we will be concentrating on the safety aspects. Since you can do so many things, you have to remember, if you're working on a new technique, there might be something that I haven't told you about here. So if you're not 100% certain, you have to contact the teacher and tell us what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, so we make sure you're completely safe at all times. In here we have the panel, we have the on and off button, the raising and lowering of the blade, and tilting the blade to 45 degrees. So here you can work with wood, with fiber boards, with softer materials like foam or even some plastic. The different parts on the machine is, this is the cross-cutting fence, this is the protection, here we have the blade and the riveting knife, and here is the ripping fence. And all this here thing that is moving is called a sledge. So, safety aspects. Always wear eye protection and ear protection. Always put your hair up and don't have any loose hanging objects on you. Also, never stand directly behind the blade when you're operating the machine. Make sure nobody else is standing directly behind the machine. If something happens and the piece gets caught and it will throw back, it will go in a tremendous speed and somebody can get hurt. So remember that. Don't stand behind it. Don't let anybody else stand behind it. Cross-cutting fence and ripping fence. Make sure that you never use these two fences at the same time. You should not stand here and measure in on the ripping fence if you're going to cut something into length. That is super important, because that is when the piece will get caught between the fence and the blade and have an enormous kickback. So always take this fence, the right side fence or the ripping fence, take that away when you're operating this here sledge. There's some difference between using solid wood and cutting fiber boards, wood fiber based material, because there's a lot of tension built into the solid wood, and we will talk about that more later. But you have to be aware of the difference between working with solid wood and sheet materials. Cross-cutting fence is used for cutting pieces into length, like this. So you hold it firmly towards the table and firmly back to the fence. And then you simply push this, the whole sledge, and make the cut past the blade. When you're done cutting, don't go back the same way that you did, but when you completed the cut, move your board and then bring the saw back. When you've cut something off here, don't try to take anything away while the machine is still operating. You have to turn it off before you remove any parts. That is where a lot of things go wrong and people get hurt. And the more, how shall I say, the more comfortable you get in the machine, actually that is when you're most likely to hurt yourself, because you get a little bit not concentrated fully. So this fence here is for cross-cutting, cutting pieces into length, and then you stand on the left side when you operate it. So when you are going to cut a piece into width, cut it in this direction. then you use the right side, this fence on the right side, and you stand on the right side also. You never stand on the left side or directly behind it. You stand here on the right side, and then you can cut the board into this width. Try not to have the blade more exposed than just over, when the teeth are more or less just over the workpiece. Perhaps here it's a little high, so I will just lower it to something like that. And you have this protection here. You should have it down as much as possible, that you can still see what you're doing and your hands can go free. If you're going to cut something really narrow, a really small piece, and you don't want your hands to be too close to the blade, you use the push stick and pass the workpiece with the help of this past the blade. If you're going to change the width, the cut of the width, you simply loosen this one and move it, and then you tighten it by bringing it all the way down. So when you, with a sheet material like this, MDF, you're going to cut this piece into width, you're going to use this right fence. I stand here on the right side and I run the piece past the blade, like this. I press the piece diagonally into the into the fence, in order to keep it a straight cut, like that. I never go back the same way like I did here, but I always finish on this side. If you're making something a really narrow cut, you should avoid having your fingers so near the blade. Instead, you should use this push stick that is always supposed to be here, and then you use it to press the piece, the workpiece, past the blade, like that, to keep your fingers safe. So, the most dangerous thing that you can do on this table saw is to cut something that is, like if you cut it like this. It is longer this way than it is this way. And if you use the fence in this occasion, when you come here, the piece wants to stand on the diagonal. And then it gets longer and it gets caught between the blade and the fence, and it will have a kickback effect. It will throw back really, really fast, and it's really dangerous that it will hurt you or somebody else standing behind you. So remember, you can only cut it in this way, when it's longer this way than it is wide, like this. That's super important. If you want to cut solid wood, that was sheet material. If you want to cut solid wood like this, you want to rip it into a shorter width. You cannot have the fence as long as this, because this solid wood has a lot of tension built in to it. So it could want to pinch right here behind the blade, pinch and go together like that. Then it will get caught and it will lift and throw back, also really fast, really dangerous. So what we do then is that we have to pull the fence back no longer than the center of the blade. The center of the blade. Because if that happens, that it starts pinching after here, it will not get caught between the blade and the fence. So then you will have a safe operation. Also remember, try to be two people when you're doing this ripping of the solid wood, because it wants to wobble perhaps, and it feels very unsafe, uncertain, and to avoid that, you will have somebody standing on the other side pressing the piece down. Okay.